And I'm happy to back you up on that, if I can, it's just a question. I'll take a look at all my schedule.
Yeah, I mean, when, dirt, we don't know what's a lot of people, so what happens? Tuesday.
They'll keep going.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'd like to call this October 10th meeting of the Central Florida MPO Alliance to order. I'm Chris Cloudman. I'm the mayor of the city of DeLand and also be the chair this morning and representing the Volusia Flagler TPO as well. So thank you for being here today. At this time, we're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And at the end of that, Ms. Smith will indicate whether we have a quorum or not. And so we'll just start.
Do the pledge first.
Oh, thank you. This is keeping me on track here. First, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I've asked Vice Mayor Daley if she'll lead us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, now we'll begin with introductions. And so we'll go right back and Vice Mayor Daley, if you'll start us off. And I'll just stop there.
Microphone.
On your screen,
Got it.
and if you turn that on, it'll make you live, not only in this room, but for those listening at home as well.
Okay, then I am Vice Mayor Nancy Daly from the city of Lake Alfred and the Polk TPO.
Omar Arroyo, Commissioner of City of Haines City and Polk TPO.
Mayor Pro Tem Brian Yates, City of Winter Haven, Polk TPO.
Good morning, Ryan Kordak, Director with the Polk TPO staff.
Georgiana Gillette, Director of the Space Coast TPO.
Matt Reinhardt, Volusia County Council Vice Chair, Volusia Flagler TPO.
Eric Sander, Chair of Volusia Flagler TPO, South Daytona City Council.
Good morning, Colleen Nicklin, Executive Director for the Volusia Flagler TPO.
Good morning, I'm Virginia Whittington. I'm the Director of Regional Partnerships here at Metro Plan Orlando and Staff Liaison to the Central Florida MPO Alliance.
Ken Gilbert, Board Member of Metro Plan, also Deputy Mayor, City of St. Cloud. Good morning, everybody.
Lee Constantine, Seminole County, and also the Central Florida MPO.
Rob Almas, Director of the Ocala Marion County TPO.
Craig Curry, County Commissioner, District 1 from Marion County.
Good morning, Mike Woods, Director of Lake Center MPO. Sandy Gamble, City Council Member of Tavares, America's Seaplain City, and also MPO of Lake and Sumter County, Vice Chair.
Don Wiley, Lake Sumter MPO. I'm also Chairman of the Sumter County Board of County Commissioners.
Lisa Smith from Metro Plan Orlando, and Mr. Chair, we do have a quorum physically present.
All right, thank you. So we will now move to public comments on action items. This is the first of two opportunities for public comments. Public comments relating to action items are heard at the beginning of this meeting, and general comments will be heard near the end. Comments can be made in person or online. People wishing to speak must complete a speaker's introduction card, and each speaker will have up to 2 minutes. Members of the public joining us virtually who wish to speak should use the raise hands feature on the Zoom screen. When your name is called, you can unmute your microphone. Please begin by stating your name and the county where you live for the record. Is there anyone online wishing to comment on the action items?
We do not have any hands raised online, but I've received a public comment card from Ms. Grace Thompson.
Okay, well, Ms. Thompson, if you'll come up to the podium in the middle there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the board. My name is Grace Thompson, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Orlando Economic Partnership. OEP supports expedited completion of improvements to the I-4 St. Johns River Bridge. This transportation is important to economic development in the region. Improving traffic flow on this portion of I-4 will expand the labor pool for companies looking to relocate to the region, especially in Seminole and Volusia counties. It will also improve commerce and freight movement in the region. So for these reasons, OEP supports this resolution and encourage its adoption by the Central Florida MPO Alliance. Thank you.
Thank you. And were there any comments submitted by email or phone?
We have not received any additional requests or public comments.
Okay, thank you. Well, before we jump into business, Ms. Whittington, are there any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only change that we have is a cast of characters. The 7B, your presentation at 7B, Alex Trogger will be giving that presentation as opposed to Mr. Slade Downs. And Mr. Chairman, that may be reflected on yours, but the printed agenda has a different name. So we just wanted to call that to the attention. And so we are ready to proceed with the agenda as printed.
All right, thank you. All right, well then with that, we will move to section 5, which is reports. Delegation reports are provided as a read ahead material and are for informational purposes. Members, are there any questions related to any of the delegation reports? So included in your agenda that went out was from each of the TPOs or MPOs. Any questions on what was shared by individuals? Okay. Well, if there are none, next we'll hear district reports from the Florida Department of Transportation and Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. So first up is District 1, Ms. Reyna, and you are recognized.
Good morning. For District 1, I would like to share that towards the end of this month, we will be holding a public hearing for our tentative 5-year work program. We have 3 ways to participate. The first is in person on October the 24th at 11 a.m. We will be holding 2 meetings, one at the Bartow office location, as well as one in the Fort Myers location on our tentative 5-year work program. The next option we have is through Monday, October the 20th through Friday, October the 24th. We will have FDOT representatives available to discuss materials with anyone from the public. It's by appointment, and that will be at our district offices. And then finally, we also have a self-guided online e-public hearing option that would be available also from Monday the 20th through Friday, October the 24th, and that will be at our swflroads.com website. And that is what I have for District 1.
Well, thank you. Any questions for District 1 by any of our members? All right, if there are none, we'll go to District 5 with Mr. Scarf.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Alliance members. I have a few items for you this morning. First, the discussion of the legislative session and work program development. So most of you are aware the 2026 legislative session kicks off in January, making it an early session this year. And FDOT is currently in high gear developing the next 5-year work program. So what that kind of means for us in District 5, we have a couple of public hearing opportunities as well. Starting in October, on October 20th through the 24th, we'll have our virtual hearings where you can participate online. You can view that looping presentation and make comments there as well. And then the in-person will be on October 21st from 3 to 5 in DeLand at our district office. And we encourage participation if you can encourage your folks to participate in that. Next, moving on to economic context and the funding outlook as we develop the work program. So the August Revenue Estimating Conference projected a downward forecast in our transportation revenues. Now, while the revenues aren't decreasing drastically, the rate of growth has slowed compared to previous years. And at the same time, key costs, especially for right-of-way and acquisition, continue to rise. So what this means, revenues are not increasing and costs are not decreasing, which sets the stage for another challenging budget cycle. And FDOT is committed to delivering our balanced work program, so we are taking that on as we do that in development. Moving on from that to our priorities, as we navigate these challenges, our core priorities remain unchanged. Safety first, preserving our existing transportation system, then when possible, advancing funded capacity projects. So from there, we move into regional priorities. For this region, our focus is on protecting projects that already have construction funding dedicated. And we want to make sure that those projects stay on track and continue to move forward. And then we're leveraging all available funds and sources to keep these projects on schedule before pursuing new opportunities. And in closing, I'd just like to mention that October is Pedestrian Safety Month. And so, it's recognized by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration as a time to remember that every trip begins and ends on foot or with a mobility device. Whether you drive, bike, or stroll, we all share the roads. And between 2020 and 2024, Florida experienced 3,789 pedestrian deaths, representing 23% of all traffic accidents or traffic-related deaths. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Well, thank you for that. Are there any questions for District 5 by any of our members? Okay, well, hearing none, looks like Ms. Williams is not present from the Turnpike. So hello. Yeah, go ahead and take the seat there. And if you'll just, there's a little person speaking. Oh, someone turned it on for you.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Victoria Williams. I'm the MPO liaison for Florida's Turnpike. Very pleased to be here with you today. We are planning to attend the public hearings for the district as well to provide at the MPO level all of our summary of the major projects that the Turnpike has in the next 5 years. And at that point, we also are going to introduce a new MPO liaison to the group. And we're hopeful that person will join us at the end of the month and we'll be introducing you individually. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any questions regarding the Turnpike? Well, thank you. All right. So today we have 5 action items. The first of which is the election of our 2026 officers. So members of the Central Florida MPO Alliance shall select one of its members as chairperson, another member as vice chairperson, and a third member as secretary. These 3 officers shall serve a term of 1 year until their successors are selected. The newly elected officers will assume their roles at the conclusion of the February meeting and will serve through February of 2027. A list of the Alliance officers is provided for informational purposes. So as we move on to select, so in the rotation for chair next year will be the Space Coast TPO. So we'll look for a nomination for someone from the Space Coast TPO to be selected as chairperson.
Mr. Chair, in the absence of 2 of our members, I would like to nominate Councilmember Mimi Hanley for chair for 2026.
Okay, we have a nomination for Ms. Mimi Hanley. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Curry. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. For vice chair, we have the Polk TPO. Do we have a nomination for someone from Polk to serve as vice chair?
All right. I nominate Brian Yates.
Okay, we have a nomination for, says commissioner, but you're now vice mayor or mayor pro tem? Mayor pro tem Yates. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Commissioner Constantine. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And for the role of secretary, this next year will be Ocala Marion TPO.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate County Commissioner Michelle Stone. She has served in the past as chairman here and also past chair of the Marion County and Ocala TPO.
Excellent. Commissioner Curry has nominated Commissioner Stone.
Against my better judgment, I'll second it.
And we have a reluctant second by Commissioner Constantine.
Love Michelle.
Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So congratulations to all of you. We look forward to you serving our alliance. All right. Item B is approval of our previous meetings minutes. First, are there any requests for additions or changes to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Constantine and a second by Moore. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item C, approval of the proposed 2026 Central Florida MPO Alliance meeting schedule. Staff has requested approval of the suggested 2026 meeting schedule, which will include a joint meeting in June.
Mr. Chair, we are still negotiating with our partners over at the Suncoast TPA. So for now, we're asking that the June 12th date be approved. And should that change, we have time, then we will be coming back to you with the date that we're able to come to agreement on.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the proposed dates? Anyone have any outstanding conflicts that you see there? Ms. Hanley, or Councilmember Hayman.
I'm a CPA and I do taxes. April the 10th is kind of a little difficult. If we could just postpone it a week.
Others thoughts on that? Commissioner
That'd be the
Gamble?
17th. If you postpone it a week, it'd be the 17th.
It's the prerogative of
Okay,
this board, and what we could do is, after this meeting, we can go back and look and see if there are any, conflicts. And again, bring it back in February. I don't think we have anything in this particular room, but we don't know what other meetings that the
Might
other
be in this
MPOs or TPOs may have.
okay.
So, we'll take that as an option as well.
I don't see anything yet on my calendar, the 17th.
And Mr. Chair, one more thing, and if it is, your schedule, there are two other members who are appointed and the vice chair would take the seat if you're not available that day. I know it's a critical time for you, but, if that is the concern, the vice chair steps into the role if the chair is not able to attend.
Yeah, and the week, the 6th, 15, 16, and 17, there is the Florida Black Caucus annual conference. So I'll be in that. And I'm assuming some others are, but
Do we want, does the motion need to have the date certain, or can we have it to where a poll is sent out and the majority?
Absolutely. If someone wants to state that as the motion, we can do that.
Okay.
Make a motion then that we set a poll out to see the availability of conflict if necessary.
Second.
And then approving the rest of the dates as is.
Right.
Okay.
Well, Mr.
Second.
Chairman, if I could make a suggestion, why don't we just approve the next one? And then look at put out a survey, put together for it. That would probably make a lot more sense than that. We know that 13th is okay, but the others are pretty far out there. And I'm looking at my schedule right now. I see potential conflicts, but I'm just the alternate, so I'm not gonna worry about it, but.
I would be comfortable either way, but currently we have a motion on the floor for approving the dates as is, except for the April date and putting a poll out. And we had a second by Commissioner Yates or Mayor Pro Tem Yates. And so further discussion on Commissioner Constantine's suggestion, or?
It's a friendly amendment.
Yeah.
If I get a second.
Anyone else have any input on what his suggestion was?
I'm sorry.
if I understand, Lee,
We approved
you're
it
just
for-
saying approve the 13th
Yeah,
and
and then
then
the
give
rest-
everybody an opportunity to look at the other dates. And you're amending the motion to that?
I am requesting friendly amendment.
All right, I'll second that.
Aren't we effectively doing that though with the original motion? We've already locked in the other date, so, I mean,
Yeah, I think Commissioner Constantine was saying there may be conflicts with the other dates on the list as well. But
we can always amend those dates going forward.
we
too.
could.
I think it was more important to put the survey out for those 2 dates though, too. That's what I was concerned about, as opposed to locking them in and then having to come back and change them because one person has conflict.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
motion that you have and the staff is able to do what we need to do to just take a look at the other dates along with the MPO directors and come back in February with a calendar.
Okay.
And I wasn't trying to make it difficult. I was just trying to give you a friendly suggestion.
All right, so then
There we go. Do I need to amend my motion then? Okay.
You just
So the-
approve the amendment and approve the motion.
yeah, so a separate motion and second was given for an amendment, so we'll take action on that first. So currently there's a second motion on the floor to amend the original motion to vote on
The first date.
the specific date, the first date, and then leave the others as a poll going out to ensure that we have a quorum on the other dates. Any discussion on that amendment? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go back to the original motion that is now amended. And any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So thank you for that flexibility. There are a lot of moving parts with all of us having so many other roles. And so staff has direction and be able to move forward.
Mhm.
All right, item D, 5D or 6D. Approval of the Central Florida MPO Alliance fiscal year 2025-26 list of priority projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's great to see all of the board members today. It's a pleasure to be with you today to finalize the annual update to the regional prioritized project list. So here in Central Florida, as you know, the MPOs work through the Alliance to collectively develop regional transportation priorities that also assist the DOT in programming projects that are considered regional in nature. And our annual activity is really guided by a process to provide clear support to the Florida Department of Transportation regarding the collective priorities for the region. The process began early this year with the development of our individual priority list. The collaboration with our DOT partners is critical, as we all know. Regional projects like I-4, Coast to Coast Connector Trail, and Sunrail has advanced because they are shared priorities. So the categories on the priority list include the strategic intermodal system, which are the high priority projects, regional and statewide significance, state economy and mobility is what that is about. Regional trails, which are generally the Sun Trail system, but they are also other trails included that are considered regional in nature. Regional transit projects, typically rail and bus rapid transit projects that cross county lines and boundaries could also be considered. And the Transportation Regional Incentive Program, TRIP, was created to improve regionally significant facilities. So state funds are available at 50% to encourage local governments and the private sector to fund projects that promote regional travel and commerce. And then the very last category is Transportation Systems Management and Operations. We call it TSMO. And this consists of a collection of projects and strategies that uses technology and real-time operational procedures. So that's what comprises the regional list. So after each MPO has taken action and sent their individual prioritized project list to the DOT, we work together to combine the 6 lists into one regional priority list. And this is all of our adoption dates for our priority lists. Tab 5 of your agenda package contains the draft of the regional priorities. All changes and updates are in red and deletions are in red strike through. And you also have a final clean copy that we will be adopting today. So I'm going to provide a very high level overview of some of the changes to this list. Overall, there were a lot of cost estimate updates throughout the priority list. So there were a lot of edits to the trip list. MetroPlan Orlando added 29 new projects and deleted 6 projects. The Polk TPO deleted 2 projects. That was County Road 557 and North Ridge Trail. And the Lake Sumter MPO added 2 new projects, Central Parkway and State Road 470. Moving on to the Strategic Intermodal System fully funded list. Quite a few projects moved off the SIS needs list to fully funded. Project number 1, Ellis Road, the widening, is now fully funded in 2026. I know Councilmember Hanley is very excited about that. We all are. And that is for the Space Coast TPO. Project 3C, I-4 from US 27 to the Polk Osceola County line is fully funded for the Polk TPO. The Ocala Marion TPO received construction funding in 2029 for Project 8, which was State Road 40 from end of the 4 lanes to County Road 314. MetroPlan Orlando received construction funding for Project 17 and 23. This is the I-4 corridor truck parking for Osceola and Seminole in 2026. And the Volusia Flagler TPO got funding for Project 33. This is I-4 corridor truck parking Volusia westbound in 2026. So we all celebrate these big wins, and this is great for the region. So moving on to the SIS needs list, Ocala Marion added 1 new project. The PD&E study for State Road 326 widening. That's from State Road 40 to 301. Volusia Flagler added 9 new projects that need PD&E studies to move forward. And then MetroPlan added 1 new project that needs a PD&E study for State Road 60 widening from Prairie Lake to the Florida Turnpike. So moving on to the Sun Trails program. This is Tier 1. This is the Coast to Coast connector. MetroPlan had an update for the Orange County Gap Segment 2. Construction is fully funded in 2026. There's also an update on 3 trails for the Lake Sumter MPO. The South Lake Trail construction is fully funded in 2030. State Road 50, South Lake Trail Phase 3C construction is fully funded, and the South Lake Trail 3B construction is fully funded in 2026. So moving on to Tier 2, this is the St. John's River to Sea Loop Trail. Volusia Flagler, Oak Hill to Edgewater Gap. This is from 442 to Dale Avenue. Construction is now fully funded. And there was a new section from Robert Road to State Road 442 that was added, and construction is needed for that project as well. So moving on to tier 3, this is the Sun Trails and Transportation Alternative Funding. These are the individual trails. The list was really cleaned up quite a bit. Metro Plan deleted 7 projects and added 1. That's the Toho Valencia Bridge. Design is needed for that trail. The Polk TPO deleted 2 projects and added 3 new projects to the list. Lake Parker to Tinnerock Connector Trail, the Lakeshore Drive Sun Trail Project, and Jackson Avenue Corridor Project. So moving to the regional transit project list, 2 new transit projects were added under this section. Sunrail, the Sunshine Corridor PD&E study, and Brightline Trains USA Orlando private sector operational. So those were really the two big changes to that. And then last but not least, the TSMO list. Ocala Marion TPO added a new project, US 27 and the I-75 interchange for operations, and they're looking for design and construction. So that was it really for the TSMO list. And so unless you have any changes, and we are open for discussion, we are asking approval for the Central Florida MPO Alliance priority list. Once it is approved, we will transmit the final list to the DOT, to FDOT districts 1 and 5. And of course, I think that the department already has a draft list because, work program is early this year, but this will be the final list. So be happy to answer any questions and see if there's any changes that are needed.
Well, thank you, Ms. Gillette, and we appreciate you taking the lead on this the last several years. And before we move too far ahead, there is a correction. The agenda states that it's the 25-26 list, but it's actually the 26-27 list. Yeah, so this is an important piece of why we're here, is to work together regionally and be able to present a more comprehensive list that when funding does come available, the department can see that, we have priorities within our more super region than just our more concentrated regional areas. So thank you on that. Commissioner Moore has a question.
Thank you for your work on this, Georgiana. So the items that might have been redlined, what is the process, or do they get considered at the top of the list for the next year? How does that work if they were removed from this current list?
If there is a strike through, they were deleted for some reason. So I would look to the MPO director, reviewing that. That's how we all work together, and their staff to kind of explain why that was the case, whether it was fully funded or perhaps the project wasn't supported, or there was a different direction that they wanted to go. So if there is a question about a specific project, I would look to the director on that.
So they don't automatically put in the line next. And so if we're interested in a particular project, we should go back and do that research and lobby anew.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions for Ms. Gillette?
Chair, motion to approve the priority list as presented with the stated year adjustments.
Second. Well, we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Yates and a second by Councilman Sander. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, item E is an approval of resolution 2025-02, supporting the expedited completion of improvements to the I-4 St. John's River Bridge. So Commissioner Bob Delary from Seminole County cannot be here this morning, and I'm pleased to present this agenda item on his behalf. So last December, Commissioner Delary came to DeLand and met with me, and kind of to judge regional support for FDOT to pursue additional and new funding to complete the St. John's River Bridge. And that project is part of segment 4 of the Beyond the Ultimate I-4 project. I had indicated that we were supportive, gave him a few other contacts of cities in West Volusia that he should talk to. And what does it say? For the record, I noted that this was a properly noticed meeting. It was. Advancing this project with additional and new funding will enhance safety, ease congestion, and ultimately extend the life of this vital corridor. These upgrades strengthen regional connectivity, support economic growth, and ensure the roadway is prepared to meet Central Florida's future travel demands. Secretary Tyler welcomes this regional support as long as it is clear that the support is for new funding. That is clear in this resolution. Since presented with the idea last December, resolutions of support have been approved by the cities of DeLand, Deltona, DeBary, and Lake Mary, and also approved by Seminole County, Metro Plan Orlando, and the Volusia Flagler TPO. I understand that the city of Sanford and Volusia and Orange counties have also been asked to adopt resolutions or send letters of support. The idea of this regional support was to eventually end with the same request for the Central Florida MPO Alliance. A copy of the draft resolution is in your agenda packets this morning. If approved today, the Central Florida MPO Alliance resolution will be packaged with the others and presented to the Florida Department of Transportation. Again, I'm happy to present this item on behalf of Commissioner Delary and look forward to your support. And just a reminder, this alliance all began with work related to the St. Johns River Bridge initial project and upgrades. And so a lot of the upgrades to I-4 have been fantastic and well needed. But even today, traveling here, as you approach that bridge, it becomes a choke point. Whether there's an accident or not, it just seems to slow down immensely and get to a standstill almost all hours of the day. So that is the request. The resolution went out with the agenda. Is there any comments or questions related to this? You guys are a quiet bunch this morning. All right. If there are no questions or comments, is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move to approve.
Second more.
A motion by Sander and a second by Moore. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Well, thank you, everyone. Commissioner Delary will be pleased. All right. Well, that'll move us to section 7, which is presentations and discussion. And first we have item A, military installation readiness review. And our presenter this morning will be Ms. Tara McHugh, the Executive Director for the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to be here. Good morning, board. Thank you for having me here to talk about our recent military installation readiness review. Just for some context, we cover 8 counties and therefore we get to work with 5 MPOs that are within this building right here. So I'm really excited to present this to all of you. And as you'll see through the presentation, we have another mayor coming. So Marion, we will be visiting you as well as Lake. So it's good that you're here to understand the context of the program. At the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, when we look at resilience, we look at it in terms of people, places, and prosperity, with also the concept of place-based resilience. So what that means really is understanding the unique risk to a particular area, and then working with those partners to make sure that we're developing strategies to address those risks and vulnerabilities through a holistic approach. We do this with 4 main goals in mind: minimization of damage and risk, promoting economic stability, empowering the community, and strengthening social cohesion. So for some context regarding the Military Installation Readiness Review, it is a program from the DoD's old CC, the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. And really the process of this program is to work with the state and communities that support the installation, located obviously outside the fence line, to create better relationships with those installations in order to plan, enhance infrastructure, and implement measures that really ensure that mission's readiness and mission assurance for the future. So this military installation readiness review is not the only one that was completed in the state of Florida. OLCC's goal is to make sure that every military installation within the state is covered through this process. So while this one has just been wrapped up, there was also one completed in the Panhandle in Pensacola, Tampa Bay, Avon Park, so in Central Florida, South Florida, and right now there's one in progress up in Jacksonville. And then, as I stated, we will cover the last two installations up there in Marion and in Lake County. We just received our grants and closed our RFP yesterday. So that one is coming on the pipeline. Oh, so the installations that we covered through this MIR is NSA Orlando, so located on the campus of UCF, as well as Patrick Space Force Base and Canaveral Space Force Station. We also identified some ancillary installations in Port Canaveral and in Titusville that we included through the conversations and the process. This was very bottom-up partner engagement. So it was not any one particular group coming in and saying this is the direction it needs to go in, and these are the strategies and recommendations that we provide. We engaged with over 44 organizations through policy and technical advisory committee meetings. I know MetroPlan Orlando, as well as the Brevard, the Space Coast TPO, were part of those committees. So thank you for your dedication to this project. And we also conducted multi-day workshops as well as interviews with installations and specific partners. All of this yielded 141 recommendations, from policy to physical projects and partnerships as well. Before the project even completed, we were able to leverage federal and state funding to advance two projects. Again, like I said, before the 18-month project was over. So those early conversations brought these two projects up to the top, and the Regional Planning Council was able to connect and leverage non-competitive DoD and state funding. So we worked with the city of Cocoa and were able to secure $1.2 million for the planning and design of their causeway water main from Old CC, with then the match provided from Florida Commerce of $135,000. And then Old CC provided to the EDC of Florida Space Coast $800,000 with a match from Commerce at $82,500 as their match. And then Brevard also provided the remaining money, all because we were able to recognize and open up the funding opportunities we could leverage for these projects. So I'm not going to go over all the bits and pieces of the project. There's a lot of pieces that all fed into each other over 18 months. But one of the biggest pieces of the project is the vulnerability assessment. So I know many people, many counties and organizations are undergoing vulnerability assessments across the state. But what's unique about this is all the vulnerabilities had to be looked at through a mission lens. So we were looking at assets and processes as well as systems, and understanding what were the vulnerabilities to those systems or assets, and then how did that play into the risk of completing the mission. All of these assets had to be located outside the fence line, so no money could be spent inside the fence line. No projects were on this list that occur on an installation property itself. This vulnerability assessment then led to all the conversations that yielded those 141 recommendations. So like I said, we had 141 recommendations, 104 were physical projects, and 37 were policy and partnership recommendations. Because we know that it's not just about transportation. It's about the utilities that are within that corridor. It's about the energy that's supporting those corridors and those communities as well, that we're not just looking at mobility or an infrastructure project of a roadway as a whole. When we were looking at the 141 recommendations, we were able to tie them together to create 24 project packages. So when you're looking at a mobility package that I'm going to go through today, you're looking at more than just we need to widen the road, or we need to provide some transit or some multimodal facilities. We're looking at how do we reduce flooding on that corridor. We're looking at how can you incorporate energy redundancy through that corridor as well and address other utilities or needs. So of these 24 packages, 8 are regional and 16 are installation or community scale. 9 are mobility packages. So while I'm not going to go through all 9 today, I really just wanted to highlight 3 of them, but I encourage you to visit our website and take a deeper dive into those other transportation packages, as well as the other packages that we have identified. So the 3 on your screen, I'll just briefly go over those. The mobility package for NSA Orlando has 13 actual projects within the packages that go from studies and planning to infrastructure and programming. They all address mobility, stormwater, land use planning, and other asset improvements within the area. Because of the uniqueness of NSA Orlando, there's a lot of project partners that we need to engage with in order to move these forward, including the county, UCF, DOT, Metro Plan Orlando, and Links. For the 528 mobility package, this focuses around improving access, mobility, and safety, but it also includes strategies around shoreline stabilization. So we know that there is a lot of erosion going on in that area, stormwater infrastructure, and again, alternative transportation strategies. The US 1 mobility package, the corridor is about a 6-mile stretch around Titusville to support the mission of Carter Rock. There are 8 projects within this package that focus on stormwater, roadway strategies, and bike ped facilities. The other transportation projects include State Road 404, 520, the Courtney Parkway, NASA Parkway, State Road 401, and State Road 518. But now that the project is done, it's been adopted by the Regional Planning Council, we've been paid, all that great stuff, the work is just beginning. So the Regional Planning Council, we have a project, we have a lot of lists that we want to move forward and engage in conversation with our partners. We're going to establish an implementation team. So we'll take a lot of the partners that we've been working with and work through the projects and identify low-hanging fruit, identify opportunities for alignment to other priorities, priority lists, project lists, and figure out ways to integrate them, what additional work needs to be done, because some of them are just concepts. And then with that, work with everyone to attract capital from federal partners as well as from the state. So we'll be kicking that off as well in the near future and have those conversations as we move forward. As I discussed, this really does provide the framework to open up additional funding opportunities from partners that we never would have been able to leverage before, such as the Department of Defense and OLD-CC. And also, we always, especially after a hurricane or some sort of tropical storm, we always get calls from the EDA or from FEMA and US Army Corps, and they say, what are projects that need to be done, especially that revolve around resilience and economic development? So we'll be able to utilize this list and help to move some of those forward, hopefully through these processes to secure technical assistance or actual tangible funding. And so we did create a story map with all of the project pages linked on there, as well as other documents. So feel free to visit our website, QR code is up there, and work through the story map and take a deeper dive into any of those projects. Oh, do you want me to go back? So like I said, this was just completed. We'll continue to move this forward. But we did just kick off our most recent installation readiness review, focusing on the Pine Castle Range complex. That complex covers Marion, Volusia, Putnam, and Lake County. So that'll be a really fascinating project to move forward, various conversations there. And then our little old Bug Spring up in Okahumpka. So we've already started conversations around that through funding from Florida Commerce a couple of years ago. So this will continue to move that effort forward. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. The project lead was Jennifer Rupert, who's our resilience officer. So feel free to reach out to her as you take a deeper dive through the projects, and she or I can answer questions at a future date as well. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. McHugh. And I bet 20 years ago, we never would have thought we'd be discussing multiple Space Force bases in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Any questions or feedback you'd like to give? Commissioner Moore?
I have to ask you, what energy redundancy or the utilities, what does that mean, please?
So being that there's only one source of energy feeding NSA Orlando, if something were to happen to that source, they would not be able to continue their mission. As you know, NSA Orlando is a lot of tech and computer and all of those widgets that they're working on. So is there another source of energy, a microgrid that perhaps could be implemented in that area as backup? So everything is not routed through one direct source.
All right, and then the second question is, with some of your preferred projects, you mentioned that you were looking for partnerships. Is the list going to be divided up between our MPOs, TPOs, so that we could see if those projects, if there's some other funding partners for you?
Right, so each project list, I did fail to say, so all the partners in each project package are identified. Like I said, we have been in conversations with Space Coast TPO as well as Metroplan. They are aware of all of the projects, have been able to review them. So as we create that implementation committee, it'll be really vital for them to be participating in terms of that. And then each project package has the partners as well as potential funding pathways that could fund some of the pieces within each project package.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Woods.
Yeah, Chair, what's the timeline on your phase two of the?
So our RFP just ended yesterday, so we're hoping within the next couple of weeks to secure that contracting. However, because of the federal shutdown, our project manager at the DoD is on hiatus, I guess is the word, at this furlough at this point in time. So we might be behind a couple of weeks. So we are starting to pull together the stakeholder list, and you will be receiving a communication here very shortly. And it goes through, I believe, March of 2027.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All right, well, thank you. I know a number of us also sit on your board, and so regional planning of all types is important.
Thank you.
All right, item B is the Central Florida MPO Alliance Regional Indicators Report, which will be provided by Mr. Alex Strogger.
Right, good morning, Mr. Chair, Alliance members, good to be with you this morning. One of three core products that the Central Florida Alliance puts together annually is our Regional Indicators Report. This is an annual publication that we put together and post on the Central Florida MPO Alliance website. Looks at the region, the super region, the 10-county area, looks at how the region's ebbing and flowing and how the system's performing, tracking a variety of transportation metrics and indicators. As you can see up on the slide, this is kind of the table of contents for lack of better words, but it includes a lot of ground, literally and physically. I'm only going to be able to, based on time constraints today, speak to a few of the indicators. Hope to kind of tease you a little bit, give you some highlights, and then of course my hope is you'll be able to dive into the document and see the whole publication at your leisure. But again, it represents our full 10-county area, as you see on the slide here. 48 data sources, pulling a lot from the FDOT source book, but also some from other state and publicly available resources, but tracking 65 different indicators or metrics, and then each of those indicators is sliced and diced based on county and MPO area, as well as the alliance as a whole. So it gives you some different lenses and windows to look through as you're looking at each of these indicators. Again, I'm going to highlight just a few here today. One that we're often familiar with at the regional level, but also locally, is population growth and the significant growth that our region has experienced over the past decade. 23% growth from 15 to 24. That's about 200 people a week, every week for the past decade, or 2000, excuse me, a week, every week for the past decade. So really significant growth. You'll also see on the right-hand side of this slide here, for a subset of our indicators, we're not just looking backwards, we're looking forward. So you're also going to see projections for a select number of indicators. We'll be able to look in the rearview mirror, but also look forward to see what we suspect growth to continue. So again, we've experienced about 1 million people over the past decade, but as we look 20 plus years into the future, we're looking at another million plus residents joining our region. Each of you have those incorporated, I'm sure, in those assumptions incorporated in your long range plans. But we look at different sources here, both US Census as well as Florida's Bureau of Economic Research. Second indicator is kind of a blend here to kind of look at consumption as well as performance. As we look at these two here, daily miles traveled, vehicle miles traveled on the state highway system, and as well fuel consumption within our 10 county area. As you can see over the past 5-6 years, it's ebbed and flowed, especially as it relates through the pandemic period. But we've seen a rebounding and pretty significant growth aligning with population, of course, and other growth patterns. But as we look at diesel and other gasoline fuel consumption, remain pretty constant. And what does that mean to transportation? You know, fuel efficiency has gone up significantly over the past decade. Electric vehicles has also gone up. But what you can see here is that our needs are greatly outpacing our transportation funding sources. So while this is not a funding slide, the majority of transportation funding, especially for the surface transportation system, especially federal and state funds, are generated from fuel tax revenues as well as local, typically. So this is an indication that, again, our needs and our growth are outpacing the funding sources and mechanisms in place today. The report also includes some other non-transportation indicators, but those indicators that have a relationship, indirect or direct, to the transportation system. These two trends here, e-commerce and remote work, are not specific to the Central Florida area. The e-commerce is a U.S. statistics, and the remote work is a statewide. I think we can look at those as proxy to understand how technology, how supply chain innovations, how consumer expectations, and somewhat societal norms are impacting daily lives in Central Florida. This has real it helps with land use planning, kind of understanding, how things are, but also transportation planning. And as we're looking at different types of peak period congestion and how travel patterns are changing more throughout the day versus just those two early and evening peak periods. But again, we've seen significant growth from the work from home that kind of picked up during the pandemic, but we're seeing continued growth of hybrid work environments throughout the state of Florida. And nationally, as you see, e-commerce, as we know, I was looking at some Amazon statistics the other day, and in the same time period, I think Amazon Prime growth has gone up like 25%. And those who are using Amazon Prime has gone up, like if you use it, your use has gone up 50%. And as you know, every other store has come up with an app and has improved their supply chain and delivery. So we only see that convenience and instant gratification impacting transportation. So we may not be driving to those stores, those activity centers as we once were, but we're certainly seeing a lot more courier and parcel delivery in our neighborhoods. I know we've heard complaints, cut through traffic and the repeated delivery, how many times can the Amazon vehicle, go around your neighborhood in a given day? But a lot of that's, supply, freight is an end in mind, or as a means to an end. So, with that, we are congestion, and those vehicles are serving the demand that is generated with our consumer behaviors. The report also looks at all types of ports, airports, but also our sea and space ports. And I think it's important to acknowledge that the activity center that's happening out at Port and Spaceport Canaveral, very important to Brevard County, but also to the 10-county region as a whole, especially as it relates to support services. And that's probably going to continue to grow as Space Florida explores expanding those ancillary services. But as we look at Seaport Canaveral, post-pandemic, cruise passenger growth has certainly expanded, and the port is seeing both, expansion of passengers, but also the infrastructure to support those memories to be made. Cargo saw a little bit of a dip from 23 to 24, but if you look at Port Canaveral's forecast, that they're seeing continued growth in that area. Majority of cargo that's being moved at Port Canaveral is very different than other deep water seaports in the state of Florida. Majority petroleum products, fuel and the pipelines that actually serve Central Florida and the Tampa area come from Port Canaveral. They also do a lot of aggregates and forest products. So a lot of break bulk and other things that are happening on property there. Port also has a lot of infrastructure, peer development, reconstruction happening at the port. I'm sure Georgiana can speak to that if y'all have questions. Also, as it's been mentioned, as the chair mentioned, space launches has significantly increased as the commercialization of space has continued to grow. It's going to impact Florida, not just Central Florida, but Florida as a whole, as we become, a national leader in aerospace technology. I think there was supposed to be a launch last night. Weather wasn't great, so look up to the skies tomorrow evening, and you should see something from SpaceX. But as you can see on that slide on the right there, or chart on the right, they've tripled launches in the past 5 years. So 93 launches last year. They're going to see that continue to grow with SpaceX and the other providers supporting both commercial use, but also military use out there on that Spaceport Canaveral. Safety, we're going to hear a little bit more about that on the next presentation on the agenda, but we are tracking safety throughout the 10-county area as part of this regional indicators report. And again, it's looking at all different types of crash types, both automobile related, but also our vulnerable users, pedestrian and bicycle. As I mentioned before, we're looking at each of these statistics in the report includes different charts, maps, and tables. You can kind of look at the data and slice and dice it at your leisure. But as you saw on the previous slide, we have some good news. Fatalities are down, both automobile and our vulnerable users. Not a trend yet. As someone who looks at statistics often, we need to give it a couple of years to kind of see if that's regression to the mean, or if it's actually positive long-term positivity. But I'll take that as a win. As we look at the data more specifically, we are also seeing reductions in drunk driving. So there's a probably huge relationship there. But again, as we become distracted and we're driving at higher speeds, safety is going to be really important. We also saw crashes going up. So fatalities are down, but crashes are going up. So with our Vision Zero, each of our Vision Zero action plans, that's a real focus. That's the objective, is to reduce and eliminate, pedestrian and also all serious injury and fatality type crashes. So some good news there, but we're going to be continuing to track, monitor that particular one to kind of see if we kind of continue trending in that downward fatality direction. But we'll chalk that up as good news for the day. So with that, this is intended to be, again, a little bit of a tease, highlight some of those key indicators. But again, there's 65 indicators in this report, sliced and diced at the MPO level, at the county level, and at the Alliance as a whole. So you should be able to kind of, again, see the information and some good takeaways there. This document is published on the Alliance website, so you can go to CFMPOA.org, scroll down a little bit, and you'll see the 25 report. You can also go back. Again, this is an annual publication. So we have about 10 years of different statistics. We try to elongate the statistics trend, so we have as much trend data as we can publish, but we try to look in that 5 and 10-year window to align with the work program, as well as just to get some solid trends there. So with that, I appreciate y'all's time, and I do hope y'all can dive into the document at your convenience.
Thank you, Mr. Trogger. And I'm curious whether Amazon Prime members on the International Space Station can have Amazon's Blue Origin bring up packages, or any questions? Well, thank you for that report, and encourage everyone to look at the full report on your own. Next, as indicated, we're going to have a safety program update by Ms. Colleen Nicklin from the Volusia Flagler TPO.
Our safety update, I know at our last meeting, I believe back in February, you heard from Rob and what Ocala Marion TPO was doing, as well as from Mike on the Lake Sumter side. So I just want to give a general update of what we're doing here in Volusia Flagler, and then focus really on one specific project that we completed last year. So with regard to our safety program and our community outreach, we have a staff of 5. So we rely heavily on partnerships to help us implement our safety program. Here's just a sample of some of the activities that we had conducted or participated in over the last year. We had 48 outreach events that our staff participated in. Some of those were focused on particular studies such as our long-range transportation plan or our comprehensive safety action plan. But we also have a lot that are just focused specifically on safety. We do partner with Bike Walk Central Florida, FDOT, our local cities, our Volusia and Flagler County Sheriff's offices, as well as the school districts, in order to be able to go out into the community, bring safety awareness. It's a great time. We actually have an event tomorrow in Port Orange. It's Port Orange Family Days. So weather permitting, we'll be out there all day long, passing out safety information. We also fit bicycle helmets. We have a helmet fitting program. Over the last year, we fit 265 helmets throughout the different events that we occur in. One of the activities or one of the studies that we completed recently in June, many of you are also working on or have completed your Vision Zero action plans. The Volusia Flagler TPO also received a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant in the amount of $320,000. That was matched by Volusia and Flagler County in the amount of $80,000. So we had $400,000 where we did a comprehensive action plan that covered both Volusia and Flagler County. Similar to a lot of the studies that you all conducted, we identified the high injury network and focused on identifying strategies for implementation for our member governments along that network. There was also a story map that was created that is posted on our website. And so this provides a platform for us for monitoring progress, recognizing achievements, and also identifying opportunities. The Smart Driving College Challenge is a project that we worked on in the last year, and this was a true partnership between the Volusia Flagler TPO and FDOT. And it was initially conceptualized during a social marketing class that a staff member of Volusia Flagler TPO attended, as well as a staff member from the Biped Safety Office of FDOT. And as part of that class, they had to come up with a project for targeting market for a specific audience. And within that particular project, they were looking at male college-age students and distracted driving. And as part of the project during the class, once the class finished, both staff members, Pam Blankenship from the TPO and Stephanie Phillips from FDOT, got together and wanted to come up with a way to actually implement the project in real life. So it was developed a little bit further, and instead of looking at male college-age students 20 to 24, we looked at all college students. We also opened it up to the faculty and staff at the colleges. So we partnered with 4 colleges within Volusia County, Bethune-Cookman University, Daytona State College, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and Stetson University. And we focused on those 4 colleges because really distracted driving in Volusia County is overrepresented when you compare it to the state of Florida. So distracted driving represents 19% of the fatal and serious injuries in Volusia County, where it's 15% in the state of Florida as a whole. So what is the Smart Driving College Challenge? So it's a challenge. It was a 6-week challenge where we went out to the 4 different universities, and we had 28 community engagement across all of the 4 different universities, where college students, the faculty, the staff, alumni, their family and friends could join in. We utilized an app that was already created called the Safe Roads Challenge app. So what they did was they would sign up on the app and join their team for their particular college, and they would log trips that they make, and the app tracks a number of different metrics, and they get scored based on their improvement over the 6 weeks. There was also incentives that were offered in the form of gift cards. So members that signed up
There was a sign up incentive for the first 300 people to sign up. There were weekly drawings where we selected randomly 15 members from each school on a weekly basis. We also had a midweek, a mid-challenge drawing, as well as the final drawing at the end. So in all, there was over $14,000 worth of gift cards that were handed out. So there was a lot of incentive from the financial side. And then the school, the one college that had the highest score also received a check for $1,500 for their program. So as I mentioned, there was already an app that was in place that we were able to use. It had to have a few small tweaks in order for us to be able to track the individual schools. But there were, a number of different parts of the app that we were already able to use. And the app is still live. Y'all can go and download that if you want to, track your driving or track your children's driving. But with the challenge, as I mentioned, there were 28 engagement events, and those were coordinated with each school where we went out. We had tables, so we had pre-challenge sign up where we introduced the challenge to the students and the staff at the school. And then during the challenge as well, we also went out and had engagements. Each school was provided with a challenge toolkit, which was specific to the school. It had Facebook posts, it had emails that could go out, sample flyers. And again, they were all tailored to the school. So they were based on, the school's logo and the school's marketing as well. And I talked about the prize incentives that we had offered. So we had a little over 420 total participants. So this shows you the breakdown by age group. And as you can see, the majority of the participants were between 14 and 30 years old. So it's really kind of that focused college students. But we did have, as I mentioned, we had opened up for faculty, staff, and parents. So we did have some other participants by age group. And then across the universities themselves, it was fairly represented. Bethune-Cookman University had a little smaller participation rate, but during the challenge, we didn't know this going in, but one of the lessons that we learned was first-year students at that university are not allowed to have cars on campus. So it may have reduced some of the participation there. So if they're living in the dorms and they don't have a car, they're not necessarily going to participate in the challenge. So what did the challenge measure? There were a number of different metrics, and they were scored based on acceleration, braking, cornering, speeding, and whether or not they were handling their phones. And so through these metrics, there were scores that were given, and then those were summarized in 3 different areas. One was total overall score from each driver, the handling, and then the focus score. And so what we found was that driving behaviors, they varied a little bit across the different universities. We saw that Daytona State had the best overall driving habits and ultimately the highest scores in certain areas. Embry-Riddle did have strength in vehicle handling, particularly in braking and cornering. And Stetson University, they performed well in reducing their phone distractions throughout the challenge and then maintaining steady handling. Bethune-Cookman University, ranked lower than the other 3, but they did show improvements as the challenge progressed. So what we learned and what we saw through this particular challenge was that there were behavioral improvements shown across all of the colleges. And we also identified that there was a positive correlation between the outreach and the participation, and then ultimately the driver behavior improvements. And then the in-person events and the social media, they did play a crucial role in the challenge. So going forward, next steps, we are looking at continuing this challenge in the universities, and then also looking at potentially expanding the challenge to local high schools within Volusia and Flagler County. That's something that we're currently developing, identifying a budget for, and working to include in our upcoming UPWP. But overall, Daytona State College won the grand prize and they earned the title of Volusia County's safest school. So you see them there with the check, and Freddie Falcon was there, joined in on the picture as well. But Daytona State was not the only winner in this challenge. This challenge received an AASHTO award, which is the American Association of State Transportation Officials. It received the Interactive Marketing Skill Award, and that was presented on September 23rd of this year. And those awards honor excellence in transportation communications across all 50 state DOTs. So it was a great honor to receive the award. And again, it really came out of the idea of these two staff members, Pamela Blankenship and Stephanie Phillips, and just from conceptualizing to implementation, and then also to carrying it forward. So if there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address those, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you, Ms. Nicklin. Any questions? I'm glad you brought that up because I was just informed at an event on Tuesday that you had won that award. So congratulations. Commissioner Moore.
I'm very intrigued by this. I'm a former school board member. And so do you see the program being adjusted in any way for high school students?
Yes, absolutely. So we've had some initial conversation with school boards at Flagler County. And so one of the areas of concern is a lot of the high school students are minors. When we deal with the colleges, most of them are downloading an app and tracking. So we would look at some way of understanding, how we can bring minors into it with permission from parents. So that's one of the biggest concerns that we see moving forward.
And do you have a timeline where you think you might be ready to launch the program?
So we're looking at introducing it into our upcoming UPWP, which would start in July of next year.
That's soon. And had you thought about if they want a parking space, they have to complete the program?
We have not thought of that yet, but we will put that down as an idea, yes.
Yeah, but it seems like you have a captive audience there. All right, well, thank you. This is really impressive and love to see your work implemented, all across Florida. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no other questions. Thank you. All right, that brings us to section 8, which are just informational items. And we don't have anything at this time. So section 9, member comments. Do any members of the Alliance wish to share anything or have any comments for us this morning? Okay. Well, then we'll move on to item 10, which is public comments. This is our second opportunity, and this is the opportunity for those who wish to make comments in general nature, not agenda items. And do we have anyone online who wishes to speak?
We do not have anyone online, and I have not received any requests to speak in person.
All right. Well, thank you then. In that case, we'll move on to section 11, which is our next meeting. Next meeting will be February 13th, 2026 at 10 a.m. right back here at Metro Plan Orlando. And we'll move on to the next item, which is exciting. It's the adjournment. So this meeting is adjourned. Yeah.